Let's bring in Jennifer Palmieri, Senior Vice President of Communications for the Center for American Progress, somebody who's been around the West Wing, and Kevin Madden, Republican strategist who served as the National Press Secretary for Mitt Romney's 2008 campaign. Is not a paid Romney person now, but is a supporter. That's right.
Probably wouldn't mind being in the West Wing. I mean, Romney.
Probably.
We'll see.
All right, Jennifer, I want to start with you. You were in the Clinton White House. You know what these and what it's like when you have to have this communication with Congress when you're trying to do a joint session speech that isn't one a la the State of the Union. Give me your assessment of how the White House handled this.
Well, I think like weirdly in the end, I think Dan Pfeiffer's right that it's not like voters are going to care about this, but I guess the one thing I would say is that they should have anticipated that the press would have a big reaction to going the same night as the Republican presidential debate, even if they hadn't intended that there would be a lot of speculation about is this a political speech, and that people would have gotten distracted on it, and that I understand once you decide you're going to go to Congress, you only got 2 nights to deal with, so I can understand trying to push the first night, but knowing that they don't need any distractions right now, you would have wanted to work this out more in advance.
Were you surprised that in all the TikTok, the best the White House can tell us is the first time a conversation was had with Speaker Boehner is when Bill Daley called him about 10:30 yesterday morning. That was the first time they had dropped this idea when, according to my reporting, they've been thinking about this for the last few weeks.
Yeah, I think that I can understand you decide when you decide and then you make the call to Boehner, but I think you want to have had it worked out. And there's an argument for not going in front of Congress at all, right? There's an argument for going and giving this speech out in the country. You could have done that.
Were you surprised? But if they wanted prime time, that would have been a tough ask for a political speech.
It's hard. Yeah, if you want. This is the end all be all. This is a joint session in front of Congress. So this is. But you could. There's an argument to be made to go someplace else and not go back into the dysfunctional trap.
Cauldron of dysfunction.
Kevin, man, let me ask you this: Speaker Boehner could have not liked how the protocol was handled, all those things, but he could have said, "All right, I'll take the high road. I'll give you your Wednesday night." But he chose not to do that. Was that a mistake?
Well, I think that I think you have to look at the way that the average voter looks at this. I think that I would agree with Jennifer that it's sort of a pox on both houses. And I think it is sort of emblematic of a lot of the frustrations that many voters have with Washington, which is that they just feel like, as important as this, there's still petty bickering that takes place. Ultimately, I think, the TikTok is not really going to matter as it relates to John Boehner, and I don't think that the stakes are as high for John. Ultimately, the bigger pressure here politically is placed on the president. So maybe, I think the answer to your question would be maybe that it...
he should have. Ironically, politically, it might have been better for his party to be a total political cynic here, as you were just pointing out. Do you want to go into Congress and at the same time politicize the speech even more by having it be with the presidential?
And I think what happened was just by picking that date, I think the president and I think the White House, they had an unforced error here. They guaranteed this was going to be politicized. I think many up on Capitol Hill, believing, they look at the economic exasperation that the American public is going through right now. They feel that they were actually affording the president a big moment to do something big, to have some sort of big progress on the economy, and that this really did trivialize it and make it much more political than it ever had to be.
Let me ask you this, and Kevin, I'm going to start with you. Look, we know we're in campaign mode. There's no doubt about it on one hand. On the other hand, if Washington, President puts out there what seems to be, and none of these seem to be large, expensive ideas. Everybody has to say, they seem to be stuff that normally does get some bipartisan support. What is the risk for Republicans if they fight him on a lot of these deals because they don't want to give the president a victory?
I think that's right. I think what the White House is looking to do, which is sort of become masters of the unobjectionable, and that's
right. That seems to be the plan for what they want to introduce.
A lot of pablum, a lot of very heavily poll-tested items that are going to look really nice, almost kind of like micro targeting their way through this election, using Mark Penn micro trends, which is very. I can guarantee you this White House will never use the Mark Penn. But I think then you're also going to have a race by many of these congressional candidates, Republicans that running local districts, not running nationally, to embrace. In many ways they'll be embracing some of the more unobjectionable items. But I think again the pressure's still much more focused on the president here.
I was just saying,
the ultimate consideration is still the unemployment rate. Does it get it down? That's
the venue is big.
Right.
Okay. The idea now has to fit the venue.
Yeah, and I don't think it's going to be micro-targeting. I think it can be big ideas, and it can be things that are going to create actual direct jobs without being partisan, because there's enough history of Republicans having supported this stuff in the past. So I think that, you see them teeing this up as saying a lot of this is things that Republicans have been supportive of. But that doesn't mean it's not going to be big. I think that it is going to be. I think that they actually are going to create real.
I would disagree on one point there, which is the partisan nature of it. I think this White House finds it. I mean, they cannot resist the partisan attacks that they usually. I mean,
I think the White House would say the same thing that Eric Cantor can't ever risk going right back at him on these things.
But the president, candidate Obama in 2008, who was very successful, ran as somebody who was post-partisan, and I think the last 3 years that brand has been diminished.
I mean, he would love nothing more than to be post-partisan, but it's pretty hard to do when the other guy won't dance with you.
Agree to disagree.
There it is.
Palmieri, Madden.
Palmieri and Madden. Hey, you guys wrapped it up for me. Thank you both. I need